was looking at some of the great games that you would have seen or played in yourself, even going back to being a child. What stands out in your mind?
I saw Waterford come to Thurles with a new team, and they were different, you know, all white, and they stood out. As I said, they were the team that created the most impression in those early years for me.
1956, Michael, it was my first time in Croke Park. My father brought me up to see Cork and Wexford. Of course, there was great interest in Cork at the time. Chris Ring was going for his 8th All-Ireland medal. Wexford lads bringing Chris Ring off the field on their shoulder. I couldn't understand why they would do that, but of course, as I got older, I understood it, and I thought it was the most remarkable gesture.
And if you go up then to Babs's era, the team of the 60s was probably one of the best teams of all time.
Eddie, pick a game for me, the best game that you played in.
I would say the best game I played in was probably Cork All-Ireland in '72.
On the wing, Eddie Keating grabbing that ball into his left hand, away he goes up the wing. A shot from way out the field. And a goal! Oh, what a goal! What a goal!
I suppose I would have to pick 1969 Munster final with Cork against Tipperary. Cork hadn't beaten Tipperary, Babs, I'd say, since 1956.
Gerald McCarthy to take the 70. It's high, it's good, it's added to, it's blocked down by Mick Roach back, but it's a goal!
Tip had a good team. You were playing. I think you were probably favourites as well because you had played in 3 or 4 All-Ireland finals prior to that. 1968 you were beaten by Wexford, which was a fantastic night.
The throw at the goal! And the game is over!
Looking back at the old games on television, I think that was one of the great games of hurling, and a game that you can be proud of whether you won or lost. And at the end of the day, we'd be hurt if just Kilkenny came back at us. But for Wexford to come back, the pain was that severe.
Noel, as somebody from Galway and from west of the Shannon, of course you had a different perspective on all of this.
When I was young, we didn't have any television. We listened to the radio. We listened to the great players that's around the table here performing with their respective counties. Galway had very huge disappointments in 85 and 86 in hurling. 88, I think, for many reasons, was an outstanding game of hurling. This was one of the greatest games I was ever involved in. I had the pleasure of watching it from the dugout in the first half, and I had the pleasure of coming on in the second half and tormenting some of the Tipperary backs.
Back to the west. We await the 106th final. And it goes in! It's another one! It's another goal! Hopefully the champions in 1994. Batted down by the goalkeeper. It's a goal!
There's been a missing person in Kehir for 81 long years, and that person's name is Liam McCarthy.
Larry Murphy's in there challenging Tom Dempsey as well, and it's a goal for Wexford. Wexford are the All-Ireland hurling champions.
Finally, gentlemen, I want to get your thoughts on the summer ahead, the championships. Who do you think is going to win?
I think Kilkenny is on everybody's lips. Like we all see and hear that, and to a certain extent it's justified. They are a great squad, they have a great manager, and they look like the team to beat.
Kilkenny are a super team, probably the best team I've ever seen over the last number of years.
Obviously Kilkenny are the team to beat, but I have a sneaking feeling for Waterford, strangely enough, this time.
I think Kilkenny are certainly this year, because what happened in the league final will be a bigger help and a bigger boost to Brian Cody. He needed what he got in the league final just to straighten him up a bit.
If I was putting a fiver on it, I'd put it on Tip. If I was putting my house on it, I'd put it on Kilkenny.
Okay.